Hi, Nakisha. Good morning
Good
or good
morning.
afternoon, I suppose, right at the edge there.
Oh, Molly, I wouldn't know the difference. I would have been like, "Good morning."
Well, we are so excited to have you on today. And everyone, welcome to our first Blackmere Live of the year of 2023. And we're just going to jump right in. And I'm going to go ahead and introduce Nakisha and Domini, and y'all can just get rolling. So Nakisha Griffin, our guest today, is the Vice President of Human Resources at Neustar Security Services. She has been in the leadership field for over 15 years and has enhanced her skills with an emphasis on human resources strategy. She is a forward-thinking businesswoman who approaches decisions with both empathy and logic. As a leader, she empowers her team to own their areas, coaching and developing them to reach their full potential. Nakisha is also highly engaged in the community. She regularly speaks for several organizations, including but not limited to Disrupt HR, SHRM, and the Junior League of Women. Thank you, Nakisha, for being here. Welcome. And of course, our own Domini Clark is the CEO and founder of Blackmere Consulting. Oh, that's why I didn't have founder written there, because it then says, which she founded in 2011. She leads executive recruitment across a variety of industries with a functional focus on cybersecurity and data science. Under her leadership, the Blackmere team specializes in difficult to fill critical hires, including executive placement, data science, wireless research, and energy related technical leadership. Welcome all, and thank you, and welcome to our attendees as well. If you have any questions, please enter them into the Q&A function at the bottom of your screen. I will be checking them periodically, and we will, Domini and Nakisha will have their discussion for about 30 minutes, and then we'll look at questions if there are any at the end. All right, so I'm just going to hop off here and have a great talk.
Hey, thanks so much, Molly. That was wonderful. So, Nakisha, there is so much going on in the industry right now. And I'm guessing you're feeling a lot of this. So, with all of this, I'm actually coining it the great reshuffle right
Yes.
now. I
Mhm.
think that's exactly
Mhm.
where tech is going.
Yep.
It's going to be a
Yep.
great reshuffle. How is this impacting you guys? What are you seeing? What are you feeling? What are you doing about it?
Yeah, that is a great question, and it changes every day. This morning when I was doing my reading and I saw a lot of the large cybersecurity and IT firms, they were doing layoffs. Now, I work for a smaller firm. We were very, very strategic in our hires for 2022 when people were overhiring and developing new business departments. We were very thoughtful about what we needed right now, and then let's see. A lot of companies didn't do that. Of course, it's helped our recruitment pool, but it does give some worry to our employees with all of the layoffs and the reshuffling and the changes day by day. It's a kind of unsettling during the recession.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And how are you as that HR leader handling that discomfort from your own team?
Well, it's Girls Cookie Month, so I'm eating a lot of cookies. I got a box over there. But I think what we do really well in the companies I've been with, we do great, is that we're very transparent. We tell you where we are. We tell you what our plans are to get to the next phase, and we're very transparent. I think that when there's questions or there's a need for follow up or details, we're always open to share. And I say that because I've worked in organizations in the past where I never knew where we were financially. I didn't know what the forward thinking was. We didn't have town halls. If we had town halls, it was more about here's what's changing in HR and not so much about where the business is. I think that having that level of transparency, especially now for organizations, is going to be critical to retain your top performers and as well as to let people know because people are very, not only in my organization, but in my network, they're very nervous and they're ready to jump ship because they're not sure.
Sure. Well, and there's that balancing act. I mean,
Right,
you really want to be very transparent.
right.
And especially as we're hearing stories where some people are hearing on having all of their information in their computer shut down on Sunday and not finding out until the next Monday that they were laid off.
Right.
Probably pretty obvious once your
Yeah.
stuff is turned
Yeah.
off. But that's very frustrating and far from transparent or good for the culture of the organization. At the
Right.
same time, you don't want to demoralize people either. How do you walk that line?
It's so hard. It is, and I'll tell you, it is first and foremost, I think, and again, shutting someone's computer off on Sunday and they don't know till Monday. I know it was a precaution by that company, but it's hard. And it's hard for two reasons. First reason is that we are, in my opinion, in a recession. And eggs are $1,000. Um, and people care about their paychecks. So when it's that much validity in the market, it's scary. How do you walk that line of letting your employees know, like, hey, we're doing good, you
Yeah,
know, we can do better, and every company can do better, but here's our plan,
that's right.
right? You're still gonna have employees that are still gonna be skeptical because they see what's going on in the market, right? And you also have a line where you're not gonna overshare. You
Mm,
have to be very, very clear in your message and make sure that your leadership team is also seeing the same message and that they believe in it. Because I could be the CEO and I could tell you, hey, our numbers are great. We could do better. We have X, Y, and Z, but we don't foresee any layoffs if we continue this trend. But if I'm your CMO or I'm your CFO and I don't believe that, now we don't, we don't have a consistent message, right?
that's right.
That transparency is now just a dream.
Rowdy. Sure.
Right. Hmm.
Absolutely. Well, and we're seeing a lot in the tech sector, of
Right.
course.
Hmm.
I'm not seeing as many layoffs in cyber. Are you? How are you guys experiencing that? Are you choosing to let your cyber folks go?
Yeah. I don't know if we choose to let them go, like, hey, get out here. But I think so within my organization and and then my networks, we're not. I think that, and I don't want to take a lot of credit as an industry, but I think cyber was very mindful.
Mm,
Cyber is a little bit different, in my opinion, because you can do a lot with less people.
yeah,
But I think the cyber industry in whole, we were very mindful of what we can do and limiting our resources. When people were jumping ship, that's when we really looked and said, hey, how can we reorganize this? Do we need that role? What do we need?
mm,
Where some other firms may have said, look, it's the great resignation, the economy is booming, let's plan for expansion, right? Where we were more of, what do we need in the future?
yeah,
We may not have had as much. Typically cybersecurity has turnover, but not traditionally one of the more fields where you see a lot. We
yeah,
were very, very intentional about what we did. So I think that intentionality, and I know we can't go back in the past and say, hey, we wish we would have hired 1 million people, but I
yeah.
think that when an organization takes the time and looks at their actual design and
Mm.
their planning and says, hey, what do we need versus let's grow for expansion, that when things like this happen, they're in a much better position.
100%. And I frankly see this as an opportunity for anyone who has been smart and
Yeah,
can actually hire right
right.
now. There's some
Hmm.
incredible talent that is either on the market or is feeling unsettled that will
Yep.
make a move to a stronger company. It's
Yep.
that Warren Buffett adage that if you're not panicking, you're winning.
Yeah,
And
you're so right. And it's crazy because right now we're getting applications and resumes from bigger companies, right? We're getting, the Amazon, we're getting the Google, we're getting the Reddit, we're getting applications because they're like, you know what? These big companies are not as stable as these little
yeah,
companies. What are the little companies doing to survive? And that's just from hearing from
start in the
people.
first place.
Exactly, exactly. We're small, right? But I've seen this 4 other times in my career where little companies and medium companies, they start to be more attractive to those that, they're pursued by the Fortune 500s and Fortune 100s. But now they're saying, you know what? My computer got shut off on Sunday. I found out I was let go on Monday. I don't think a smaller employer would have done that. And they're right.
That's right. That's right.
Mhm.
It's there's such a different stickiness to the culture of a small to medium-sized business that you know that person instead of just feeling like you're a number.
Exactly.
I think that will
Exactly.
change a lot. And
That's right.
you and I have probably been through about the same. This is my fifth recession. I
Yeah.
think this is so different for people coming into the industry. This younger generation is going, oh
Right.
man, this
Right.
is kind of a big deal. And we're like, this
Yeah.
again.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny that you say that because, when I first started my career, I was younger, right? Not,
Mhm.
we'll just say that. And now I'm in like this sandwich generation where I'm raising my elementary school and a teenager, and I have my parents that are retired. And I'm thinking back, and I say, this happened when I was in a totally different demographic.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it ebbs and flows where other people, like you said, they're panicking. They haven't seen this. And I think the one thing that I'm looking at differently this time than in the past is how quickly it turned overnight, right? And how different our world was when this happened to me. This reminds me of 2008, 2007, when the housing market had its crash.
Yep.
And but it was slower. And I think in my mind this time it was fast and life is different and technology is different. It's been like almost 15 years.
Yeah.
So it's radical for those. Again, it goes back to like, how do you calm those people down? What can you say? What can you do? And the only advice that I've been giving to my team is transparency, and believing and sharing a thought, right? So I don't care what department you in. If you have an idea of what we can do differently to grow our company, speak up. We're not gonna, we're not gonna make decisions in silos anymore.
That's so important. And I think small to medium sized companies are much better at that.
Right,
They can be more nimble in a recession, in crazy times.
right.
Do you think but at the same time, these large companies have historically been our major employers.
Hmm.
I don't necessarily see that going away. I even wonder, and you're probably the perfect
Right.
person to ask this question. So when things like this happen, is it actually financially beneficial for companies to lay people off like this?
Oh
I've
my
read a
goodness.
whole bunch of things that
Yeah.
say,
It's so sick to say that, right? But it is, and that's a wonder. I was talking to a good friend, and she lives in California, and we were just chatting about it, and she says, she has another friend that lives in Texas. She said, they laid off all the problematic employees. And I said,
"Mhm,
what? She's like, yeah. I said, this gives you an opportunity to blame the recession for something. I said, oh, that's first off, that's so dishonest and so disgusting. But if
it
you're a large
is
employer,
though."
you're right.
It
If you're a
is.
large employer, you're going to do that. Us
Sure.
small and mediums, we don't do that. At least anywhere I work at. But you can, or
Yes.
you can scrap ideas you had. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm well aware of some companies that say, you know what, we're going to build this department, we're going to build this initiative, and then they're going to scrap it. You have to cut back on something. We'll scrap this idea. It does. But I think, and this is going to sound kind of weird, because I've been through a layoff before, in that 2000 and it was 2012,
Mm.
and I had been with the company for many years, and just the industry was dying off, and it was hard. But when you get through one and you see that you can bounce back, your mindset about all of this kind of changes.
It
You
does.
know?
You can see the opportunities there. And
Mhm.
I was in a similar situation 2008, 2009. I had been
Mhm.
with the company for 13 years and I
Right.
was pretty comfortable-ish, you know?
Mhm.
I think had
Mhm.
I not been forced to make a different move,
Right.
I might have just stayed comfortable-ish instead of doing something new and cool that led
Right.
me exactly where I am today. Without that,
Mhm.
this wouldn't.
Right. Right. Like it was a push for you. It was like we have to get uncomfortable. And I don't know how you feel, and I would love to hear, but I know when it happened to me, I said, well, I can't leave this job because I need my income, all those things. And guess
Yeah,
what? We all ate. The rent at the time, the mortgage was paid. No
yeah,
one suffered. We may not have went to out of state for education, but we had it. We went somewhere nice. But
that's right.
mentally, for some reason, I thought the world was going to cave in.
But in a real way, it was the proverbial sky is
Yep.
falling Chicken Little
That's right. That's
feeling,
right. That's
and it
right.
turned out to be more than okay.
Yep.
It was frankly fantastic. I am now grateful for it, but the
Good.
fear that was around it, and maybe that's one of the messages that we
Right.
should get out is that
Right.
this doesn't last forever. The sky doesn't actually fall. And this
Right.
could bring you something that you never saw coming. It's even better
Right.
than you had before.
I love that because I'm going to use that this week, and I'm going to say to people when they come to me and they're worried, I'm going to say, "Hey, happens all the time."
Yep.
Instead of trying to what you had me think about was, instead of trying to minimize their fears, let's take it full on and
Yeah.
say, I acknowledge your fears. I acknowledge that you're worried about the
Mm.
industry. I acknowledge that you're in cybersecurity, you're in a certain sector, but hey, this this happens. What
Yeah.
can we do? Right? Let's take the fears on.
I like that idea. I love that for the individual. I think it can also
Right.
be applied to the company and to the
Right.
industry. That
Mm-hmm.
yeah, this stuff doesn't feel good right now, but
It
it's going to
doesn't.
force us to stretch and grow and try new things that we wouldn't
Right.
have done had we been comfortable-ish.
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
kind of like, I just started a diet. And the first 4 days, man, you didn't want to talk to me. I'm good today, right? But I feel better. I feel great, right? So I had to get out of being comfortable. I had to change up my habits to feel good, right? So all organizations right now, we moved the cheese. The cheese has been moved. You got to figure out how to get the cheese back.
Mm.
And it's going to happen
Yeah.
again. We can't stay comfortable. So I always try to equate things in my own personal life to work because it's all relevant. And when we
Right.
talked about the tech bubble, I think about life. Life is the same way. Things change and we have to adjust. I know we want things to be constant. I do too. I like when either my personal life or my professional life, one of them is constant.
Yeah.
But I also realize that it's not always going to be that. Everything is ebbs and flows. And and that's okay. That's a mental state I want my employees to be in, is that life is going to change, but we're
And thank
always
God
looking
it
for.
does, or I'd be stuck in junior high,
Yes.
you
Oh my
know?
gosh.
God
But
forbid.
no, no, we don't want to go to
Thank
junior
God
high
it
now.
keeps changing.
No, no, no. Junior high is an interesting place. I was there dropping something off like 2 days ago. I'm good on that.
Yeah. Of
I'm
all
good.
things I could
Yeah.
ever go back to.
Yeah.
Well, and some of the articles that I've been reading recently, because of course we're deeply enmeshed in this,
Yep.
we're talking about how this is not actually a good financial strategy for a lot of companies, that
Wow.
you end up laying people off, you pay
Yep.
severance, you
Yes.
deal with all of the legal stuff around
Right.
it. And then you realize that you have a really super overtaxed team that isn't getting stuff done.
Yep.
And you have to hire him back at a premium when
That's
everybody
right.
else figured out the same thing and they're
Yep.
trying to hire back too.
Hmm. Have you seen? I know for myself, last year was crazy. People were paying at the 150
Oh,
percentile, and now we're back to a
definitely
normal
insane.
percentile. Um, but it's the mentality of like some people that have been displaced. They want anything, right? But
Mhm.
it's also trying to help employees know about percentiles and why was it so high offers in September of last year versus now, right? And I say all that because it's a lot of mentality work that has to be done in the HR department. There's a lot of um, awareness and bringing and really grounding your employee that has to be done in a leadership team.
That's
And
right.
and it's beyond just the layoffs. It's There's every area of an employee's life right now, how much work they're getting. Are they burnt out?
Mhm.
There's so many things that us as leaders we have to look at, that it's just not the layoffs. It's a lot more.
It's a lot more. And, I think that how much work have we been getting is one of the bigger factors, especially
Hmm.
in cybersecurity. Those
Right.
teams have been running really lean for a
Yeah.
really long
Long time.
time. That
Hmm.
cyber talent gap is still enormous.
Right.
I don't think there's enough layoffs I don't even want to put that out there. I
No.
don't think there's enough layoffs in the world that could
No.
bridge that cyber talent gap, get us enough people
Oh yeah.
into all the jobs that are out there and should be
Hmm.
filled. It's just kind of a wild ride. And I think cybersecurity is one of the more interesting
Yep.
bubble in a bubble. But I
Right.
don't like it popping because it's not solved.
No, no, you're right. It's one when people think about technology, in my opinion, when I wanted to go to school for tech, I just thought about software engineering, right? I didn't think about cybersecurity, right? It wasn't prevalent. And maybe that's why now 15, 16, 17 years later, we don't have a lot of senior level people that are into cyber, because back when I was around, it wasn't that big of a deal.
Yeah.
So there's always that. First off, a lot of people don't go into STEM. And then there's always a lack of people just because. So when I think about this whole change in bubble, as I mentioned before, I'm getting a lot of resumes. Now, to me, a lot could be 10 per job, where I was only getting one or
Right.
two. But it's a lot to me because the market is so small.
Yeah.
Um, but again, they have options, because us small employers, the medium employers, we've been waiting for this, right? We've
That's
been waiting to
right.
get time. And maybe that's why we were so intentional last year, because we were waiting for something to happen. And again, cyber is so small. Cyber, it's very customized to like the area that you're working on. I think I don't want to say that we're benefiting or whatnot, but at the end of the day, you're always going to need cybersecurity. We live on our phones. We live on the internet. We're so dependent on cybersecurity right now, and I honestly, I don't think there's ever going to be a time where we're not dependent on the internet.
I can't even imagine it. And maybe
Yeah,
this will be one of those moments where
yeah,
where we realize that we could throw our
yeah,
stone tablets away. I don't
yeah,
know.
yeah,
But
yeah.
I'm with you. I think in the foreseeable future, in my generation, my children's generation,
Right.
we're going to need this and this cybersecurity talent. So figuring out how to grow it. And I'm with
Hmm.
you. We needed a little loosening in the market
Right.
for
Hmm.
people to actually be able to float.
Right.
I
Right.
still see there's plenty of opportunity for cybersecurity talent. Moreover, I think there are higher risks for organizations who don't have enough of it.
Right.
And I know you guys have a cyber product. Are you seeing an uptick in your customers saying, hey, we've got some issues? Are you seeing them talk about greater threats, or is it kind of at a plateau right now?
That's a good question. So I think about customers and their thoughts and their feedback. I think of two things. Everyone is extremely overworked. I think about customers in general. But the second thing I think about is the proactiveness that we do, right? We are reaching out to people, telling them about our products, right? I have another good friend who's like, I don't have time to find out anything now. Everyone's selling me. So I'm just reading what I want to read.
Yeah.
And I don't think that has changed. I don't think that people, unfortunately, it'd be great if people just like, hey, we need your product. I don't think honestly that's changed yet. I
Yeah.
would love it to change, especially as an industry in a whole, but I don't think we're there yet. And I wonder, and you tell me your thoughts on it too. I wonder if it's because people are just so fixated on their roles, or they want some content, they just haven't gotten to it. Because again, um, a solution for cybersecurity and what and mainly in the areas of like what we do, um, you have to want that change. You have to, it typically is going to be an issue or pricing or something to make you want to switch over.
Sure. Sure.
So I haven't. I would love to tell you, yeah, customers are coming to us and begging for solutions,
Yeah.
but I haven't seen it from my vantage point. I think that that's a great opportunity to discuss our solutions. But thinking back about coronavirus, when everyone moved from the retail to online, I still think that for cybersecurity as a whole was our best time
It was
to approach clients. I don't know if right now is anything similar to that.
interesting. And I think you're right. I think people are really they're overwhelmed, they're overworked.
Mhm.
We've had 2.5 years of just constant stuff
Oh my
coming at
gosh. Oh
us,
my gosh. Yep.
figuring out how to get caught up, figuring out how to separate out the goods products from the bad, much less
Right.
figuring out what we actually need. And in the
Yeah.
meantime, if I'm a bad guy, this is my time. This is my
Exactly.
time. When you're laying off all kinds of people and
Mhm.
cutting too deep, I
Right.
if I were a bad guy, this would be a fantastic opportunity.
Yes.
I would want to be able to beef up my cyber staff to an incredible
Yes.
degree.
Oh my gosh, you're 100% right about that. So you're a good bad guy because you're right.
Right.
And it
Wow.
goes back to what I said. Like, people are not reaching out saying, "Hey, send me your solution." They're
Yeah.
like, "I'm busy. I'm overworked. I'm
Yeah.
preoccupied," and that's what they want. You're so
That's right.
right. I mean,
That's
I
right.
mean, you're so right. it allows you to be okay with, okay, well, we have this solution, it's
Mhm.
working now, and it may not, right? That company may have to do layoffs too. So now the solution is just
Right.
not as guarded as our products would be, right?
Mhm.
Um, it's crazy. I think that this layoffs and recession, but layoffs in general leave a lot of opportunity for companies to lose their competitive advantage or have vulnerabilities. That's why I love that we didn't have to do any of that, you know?
Yeah.
Um, but again, companies are doing it, and I'm like, well, they're leaving themselves very, very vulnerable.
Uh-huh.
And of course, I can't get the company's name, but I was talking to my group, and they were talking about they had let go this key position in my mind for being in cybersecurity, and it makes me think about it as we talk, and I'm like, how many companies are have no awareness of what a person really does and how important that role is, and now when that person is gone, how vulnerable they are because
And
they
how
never
long
really
can it
understood.
take them to
Yeah,
see what that impact of that one person leaving is? If it takes 3 months and
yeah,
then you realize you've got an enormous gaping hole,
right.
you're 3 months behind the 8 ball and
Exactly.
in a real tough situation, especially
Right,
if you wait even longer and then the market starts to pick up again and candidates get expensive.
right, right, right. And it's even like it's that deep, but it goes deeper. It's like how many companies really know what their employees are doing and how beneficial they are. I even myself, I know my team, but it's not natural. It's because I developed them, I motivated them, I grew them, I passed down things that I was doing to them. But
Yeah,
not everyone's gonna have that. And I thought about other teams that I was on where I came on and my team had already been there. I was a new hire. I never knew what they did.
that's
I
right.
never knew if they left what vulnerabilities would be in our systems. I didn't know,
Yeah.
and I still don't know. And I say all that because we I hope companies are being mindful when they're laying people off, but I don't think it's all 100% possible.
I don't think it's 100% possible. And one of the articles that I read said that a lot of what's being cut is the middle management, and that
Hmm.
middle management, in my experience, they're the ones with their finger on the pulse. They know who's doing what and what
Right,
how the machine
right,
works. You let that
exactly.
layer go, and
You're
you just
done.
watch that brain trust walk
You're
out the door.
done. You're done. You're done. It's hard um, because any day now things can change. And I say that because things change just maybe a couple of months. To
Yeah,
me, we show signs of improvement. The next day is signs of we're regressing. So it's up and down all day. Um, I'm just very, very fascinated about the market right now. I'm fascinated about my own dollar because, as we talked about, they're paying in the 150 percentile. These larger companies last year, and now they're back to the 100 percentile. And but our dollar is weaker.
that's right.
So how competitive of a candidate are you going to get, even though you're paying less? There's so many things about candidates and hiring right now where
Mm,
it's not straightforward anymore. It's just not straightforward. It's
it's not.
you're yeah. I mean, even for myself, I get a candidate that's in the mid 100s. Am I getting a candidate that's in the mid 100s, or am I getting a candidate that's in the low 100s? Right. The
Yeah.
dollar, the dollar matters, right? Or what am I getting? It's so complex right now.
It is, and as we hire, if we pull in a candidate who has been paid at that
Right.
150%, now
Right.
we pay them at the 100%, what's
Right.
gonna happen when the market turns again? We've gotta
Right.
be prepared. If we
Right.
leave ourselves open, we that's just the next layer of
That's right.
vulnerability in our
That's right.
future.
That's right. And who comes to work? I was a consultant before I came on between being a COO and coming on board here. I was a consultant, and I remember consulting for a company who would be super excited when they got a person for less. And
Mhm.
I continued to say, I said, "Why are
Mhm.
you excited?" And they said, "Oh, we save money." I said, "What if that person comes for that amount of money you're paying?"
Yeah.
But they were used to being paid this number. You're not going to get that $150,000 person. You can get that $90,000 person. So, are you still
And
excited
you
about
bought
that?
yourself that much time.
Exactly. And they're going to be ready to go in the next 6 to 12 months when they find the role. It's going to pay them 150 because they're bored of this $90,000 role. Um,
Yeah.
It's just it's the mindset, and I see some of that. I see that in my circles. I see that online where people are trying to get less right now, and I'm like, you're getting less. You're paying less, and you're gonna get what you pay for.
Yeah, that's very true. That's
Mhm,
really true. Well, and that goes to some of the hiring practices, compensation practices, hiring
mhm.
practices, all of the systems in a lot of the companies have
Right.
have not been able to keep up with the pace.
No.
I think another opportunity that's lurking here is for talent acquisition and security
Mhm.
leadership to take a
Right.
step back and say, all right, we've got this teeny tiny smidge of a window, probably not for
Yep.
security leaders. I don't think they've got a window right
No,
now.
no, no, no,
But
no,
we
no.
do to
Yeah.
say, let's fix this.
Yeah.
Let's really be super strategic about
Mhm.
what we're doing now and set ourselves up for a much better future. Hiring
Right.
cyber is hard. It is
It is.
hard no matter what.
It's so hard. It's so hard. And I think that goes back to the entire idea of, are you partnering with your business leaders,
Mm,
right? When I started in HR, I originally was going to I had went into finance,
yeah.
and I did finance for a little bit, and then we had an opportunity to come and work for a new HR. And I say that because I always think about things in numbers, right? I'm very I have an uncanny ability to think about numbers before anything else. So it's easier for me to talk numbers to my business leaders. So that's been pretty much one of my best traits. I say that because we have an opportunity to educate our leaders on, yeah, we got to save money, but if we cut here, here's the bigger business impact.
That's
We
right.
can't just talk with empathy. We have to talk with a lot of logic and numbers and how and the ROI. Yeah, it's the ROI. I'm sorry. I know
It
we always
has
talk
to
about, oh,
be.
it's people and culture and people. Yeah, that's we're gonna do all that. But if it doesn't make sense, then it doesn't make sense.
They have to both come together.
Yes.
When both sides come together, everything works smoothly. If
Right.
one or the other is out of balance, everything gets thrown out of balance. And I think that's part of what we're seeing here in
Mm-hmm.
this odd period of
Hard.
time we're living in.
It's hard. It's
And
so
I
hard.
love the word fascinating. Sometimes I
Yeah.
don't mean anything nice when I say it.
Yeah, yeah, me too. That's fascinating. Oh, that's awesome. I'll say it's awesome, man. I'll be like, gone. I've left my body already. But another thing that you mentioned, I really want to touch on is that when I talk about salary ranges and percentiles, I want to be very clear about something. If you're a small employer or a medium employer, you're not paying the percentile that a big employer will pay. You pay for what your industry and what
Yeah,
your market is paying,
yeah,
right? Because if you can't pay what the big companies are paying, yes, it's awesome. But you got to know what your competitors are paying. You got to be real with yourself.
that's
I
right.
I'm 5'3". I would love to show as a 5'8" person, but I'm 5'3". So I'm wearing 5'3" stuff, 5'3" shoes, right? Maybe one day I'll be 5'8". I'm not gonna be, but I just as an analogy. But for right now, I'm 5'3". So I gotta do 5'3" things.
Truly, truly, to understand who you are. And
Right.
I think lining up those hiring practices
Mhm.
around those realistic expectations. We
Right.
have clients at times that want the purple unicorn with
Yeah.
striped feathers,
So
and it's just never it you can't afford that person.
right.
Maybe
Right.
Amazon, maybe Google can afford that person. Let's be
Yes.
realistic about who you are and what you really need and where you really can go with what you have to work with.
Exactly. And also helping our managers understand, like, hey, no unicorns exist here. What do you
They are
need?
mythical
They're
creatures.
mythical. They're so, it's such an interesting time to be in HR right now, more so than ever, because when I came in, it's pushing paper, HR administration. If you're bad, you go to the HR office. And now leaders have really embraced our ability to make these really good decisions to help them see how to build their businesses. And if we could just bring that to the table, bring those ideas, bring that strategy, talk that financial language, be able to give managers support of how to hire, what to look for, and be the most important thing, be brave and say no,
That's
right?
right.
And mean it. No, it's a bad idea. It's a
Yeah.
weird because we're in the people pleasing, liking, we want people to like us business. We got to be okay saying no. right?
They really don't like you when it doesn't work out, when the whole
Right.
project fails.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
Because
yeah.
you
Oh,
said
yeah.
yes too
And
many
being
times.
okay. Okay.
That's
Because,
right.
so many times everyone knows my name. Until I say no, then I'm HR.
That's right.
HR said, and I'm like, dude,
Security feels
who
the
is
same
HR?
thing.
Right.
Security's
Right.
in
I'm
that
like,
same position. We're perfect partners.
yeah, we're perfect. But you got to be okay with that, especially right now when employees are uncertain, right? You got to be strong and tell your CEO, your C-suite, here's what I see, right? You got to be the person to also say when your manager is making a bad hiring decision, this is a bad decision and why, and push back. There's this time right now isn't, as we've seen it before, but it's a little bit more complex. And you have to be able to see multiple sides of the situation and be able to speak up or help or assist, or most importantly, be brave and push
Yeah.
back.
Hire cyber now. Don't lay them off.
Please, yes, hire side. Yes, and it's crazy because you're right. It's time. This is a time to hire, right?
Mm,
Because majority of cybersecurity companies, they're very disciplined. I mean, it's our job to be disciplined. It's our job to be aware of what we actually need. Don't stop your hiring plan because we're already very, very stringent on hiring
sure.
because you're not sure what's going on in the future. We do a good job in planning.
That's right. That's right. And if only we had a crystal ball.
Yeah.
I want to throw it out. Let's see if we've got any questions from anyone in the audience. Maybe we do. Maybe we don't. I don't see anything in the chat. Okay, I think we're good. Well, Nakisha, you are wonderful. And I am so excited to watch you on this voyage and help you anywhere we can, of course. But I want to stay connected and really
Definitely.
make sure that we're being part of the solution, because there's plenty of problems out there. Let's
There's
solve
tons
them.
of problems, and I'm sure we'll be talking soon. Be well.
Thank you so much. Take care.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye.